Welcome back to another episode of Sal and Pals Go to the Movies. Touly is busy, so I will be reviewing Morbius by myself. So just a fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. Biochemist Michael Morbius tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease, but he eventually infects himself with a form of vampirism instead. So let's begin with my first pro. We have well-known actors in this movie. We have Jared Leto, Tyrese Gibson, Matt Smith, and making a cameo sort of is Michael Keaton as Vulture. What really got me excited was Matt Smith is in the MCU now, and also David Tennant as the Purple Man in Jessica Jones. So both have been part of the Doctor Who universe and now are in the MCU. So we could potentially see them, this is a far reach, teaming up as the villains in the MCU to fight the good guys. But before anybody says, did you see the ending of this movie? He can't come back. To that, I will say that never stopped comic books from bringing back people or superheroes from the dead. So it's still a big far reach, but I'm just putting it out there. Technically, that's my only pro for this movie, and I'm going to be moving on to my cons. So my first con is the story. It seems to me that it wasn't quite finished. It seemed like a draft that one would have turned in school and are waiting for feedback. Starting with the introduction of the characters. Example, when Michael sees Milo come into the hospital and saves him with the spring of a ball pen, fixing the machine that's giving him the dialysis. Okay, first of all, that would make Michael smart in the mechanical engineering field, not in a medical sense. But to fix this, why not have a nurse give Milo a blood transfusion? Maybe it's a wrong type or it wasn't really well kept, and then Milo's body begins to convulse and everybody is dumbfounded, but Michael starts screaming to give him a type of medicine, but the nurses don't listen till Nicholas hears him and questions why he's asking for that medicine. That is when Michael says it will help him stabilize him until you find the right blood type or the right blood. This makes Nicholas give the speech of how talented he is and it's important that he goes to study, blah blah blah, and for Milo in the future to trust him and give his company the investment that he needs to do his research. Also, Milo sort of had an interest in Martine, the assistant to Morbius, and it seemed it was like a love interest, and that was not well developed. But here is a quick fix to that. Instead of the time leap of 25 years to the present, why not show them since they started founding the Horizon company? And here comes Martine and Milo. He tries to impress her and ask her out, but Martine shows no interest in Milo, but only towards Michael, a mix between admiration and love. This triggers Milo into feeling rejected and blaming it on his illness, but once he takes the serum, he still gets rejected by Martine and thus goes on a killing rampage till he sees Michael and Martine kiss on the roof. That's when he goes fully crazy and kills Martine, but Michael unknowingly transforms her and then goes after Milo. Now to fix the detectives, okay, we have Simon played by Tyrese, so for this character I would say don't just tell us about being saved by the artificial blood created by Dr. Michael, but instead show something. Maybe when he is a cop, he gets shot and is losing blood fast, and he is closer to the Horizon company than to an actual hospital. And then comes Michael with his experimental artificial blood and saves the cop, and turns out that he's the first human test subject, thus establishing a connection between Michael and Simon. Simon is grateful that he gave him the blood transfusion with the artificial blood and saved his life. Now for the next cop, Rodriguez. Make him kind of a Mulder character from the X-Files, thinking of unexplained paranormal stuff, thus helping with his weak attempt to that holy water joke. It would have played better if he was a guy who said, well, maybe Bigfoot does exist, well, maybe aliens, maybe this, which in this universe is not that far-fetched. Now moving on to how Morbius found out the formula, why not show us the bats he collected go from a full population in his lab in that container that he had to maybe a last few or even the last one, and with that his last hope to finding the cure. And since there isn't any more, he can't replicate it and only has those 3 vials that he came up with. Also Milo, when he takes the cure and when he is transformed into hunger, he burns down the lab and with it the notes and information that Michael has on all his work and research. So later he has nothing to work with, but just show us that he has been after this cure for years, studying bats until he found this species that is really rare and he might only have the last few in existence. Next con was the cookie cutter effects of Nightcrawler used by Morbius and Hunger. You know, the smoky effect and facing from one spot to another. I think this was a lack of imagination, because if he is part bat, then when do bats actually get that facing power or the color trail that comes when they're moving from spot to spot? Now moving on to powers that they had. The echolocation was a good power to sell, but it wasn't sold very well since the creatures that we know use echolocation and create a sound that eventually returns to their ear bones and not the hair-like things that Morbius had on his ear and were exhibiting. They used that hair-like features in his ear to sell us that he was listening to sound, but he wasn't really creating the original sound wave that would travel and bounce back off the objects and return to his ear. Why not make him click or maybe do a screech? That would sell it a little more. Next con, the way they tried to bridge over to the MCU like Venom tried in Let There Be Carnage, with a few ending scenes to start off the cameo by Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes, or the Vulture appearing after the occurrence from the last Spider-Man movie or the events from the next Doctor Strange movie. And then at the end, hinting that Morbius might team up with the Vulture against Spider-Man. All this, but nothing to explain what happened to Martine, since before the movie ended, we saw her on the roof, open her eyes, glowing red just like Morbius when he first changed. So is she also like Morbius, or is she dead, or did she leave this universe? It wasn't explained clearly. So now, is Morbius still using artificial blood, or is he now drinking human blood? That was also not explained. It wasn't made clear, because wasn't he making it super clear to the audience while he was in jail that he was calculating how long he can live on the artificial blood till he loses control, and artificial blood was having diminishing returns. So according to his calculations, while he was in jail, he had a few days to live off the artificial blood. So technically by this time he would either have to be off of it, find a replacement, or be on human blood. So what's the deal? Give us answers and not spin-off pitch for a new movie. So I guess my grade for this movie is going to be a 4 out of 10. Once again, when we deal with other studios trying to cross over to the Marvel Disney side, we get these storylines that are not really well developed and are really weak. I just feel bad for Jared Leto, since he has failed as a Joker in the DC universe and now as Morbius in the Marvel universe. I don't know what to tell him or what he should do. Also, some scenes from the trailers that were lingering for a long time, since the movie was postponed quite a few times, those scenes were not really in the movie. I really wanted to see one of them, which was the Vulture telling Morbius that they should keep in touch while they were being transported in handcuffs or something, but that wasn't in the movie. Also, when they passed by in the alley and we saw the Spider-Man poster, I didn't see that in this movie. So was Spider-Man present in this universe, or is he not real? What's the deal? So that does it for this review of Morbius. Please join us next time where we're going to review Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore.
What you're doing is madness. With or without you, I'll burn down their world. Dangerous times favor dangerous men.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find our social media links below. And like always, keep watching movies.